Hello and welcome to the News at 5. I'm Olumide Macaulay. Thank you for joining us. In attempts to strengthen Nigeria's electoral process, the Senate has passed the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2025 through second reading, proposing a shift that will place the burden of proof on INEC in election petition cases. The move followed the presentation of a report by the chairman of the Senate Committee on INEC, which underscored the need for more credible elections, enhanced deployment of technology, and stricter penalties to curb electoral violence. During the debate on the bill, lawmakers argued that the current position of the law, which places the burden of proof on the petitioner, is unfair and undermines electoral justice. They proposed that INEC, as the body conducting elections, should bear the responsibility of proving that elections were free, fair, and credible. The senators also raised concern over the growing threat posed by political actors to democratic institutions and called for greater support and funding for INEC to enable it to deploy more technology in future elections. The Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, applauded the ongoing improvements in Nigeria's electoral system, stating that elections have improved in the country since the PDP left power, and there have been improvements, but that they were not there yet. He called for continued performance and reform to enhance transparency and public trust in the electoral process. The House of Representatives has passed a resolution to investigate the operations, the funding, and performance of development institutions in Nigeria. The House is worried that institutions such as the Bank of Industry, the Bank of Agriculture, Development Bank of Nigeria, Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, and others are not as impactful as they should be, despite the huge funding from the federal government. The resolution was reached following a motion of urgent national importance by the Minority Whip, Mr. Ali Issa. In the meantime, a bill seeking to include value-added tax, VAT, in the exclusive list has scaled second reading. The leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has listed former Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, as his witness in his ongoing alleged terrorism trial. Also listed as compellable witnesses are the Minister of FCT, Nyesom Wike, a former Minister of Defense, General Theophilus Danjuma, former Chief of Army Staff, General Tukur Buratai, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State, and Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State. Others are Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, the former Governor of Abia State, Okezie Ikpeazu, the former Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, Ahmed Rufai, the former DG of the State Security Service, Yusuf Bichi, and several witnesses whose identities he did not reveal. In a fresh motion he personally signed and filed before Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja, Mr. Nnamdi Kanu assured he was ready to begin his defense as ordered by the court. The first category, he said, will be those he called ordinary but material witnesses. He further informed the court that his second category of witnesses will be vital and compellable and shall be summoned under Section 232 of the Evidence Act 2011. He also prayed the court that in view of the number of witnesses he intends to call, the court shall consider granting a 90-day time frame to enable him conclude his defense. Also at the courts, Justice Mohammed Umar of the Federal High Court in Abuja has rejected a fresh application for bail filed by detained leader, alleged terrorist negotiator Tukur Mamu. Justice Mohammed Umar, in a ruling on Wednesday today, noted the health complaint by Mr. Mamu and held that the detaining authority, the Department of State Services, should not release him, but take him to an appropriate health facility where he will be adequately attended to. Justice Umar noted that according to the history of the case so far, the prosecution has exhibited diligence in its handling of the case and exhibited diligence in prosecuting the case. The judge said one of the reasons for granting bail is where the prosecution is not diligent, noting that since the prosecution in the case is diligent, the application for bail cannot be granted. He subsequently granted, or rather ordered, that the defense lawyer should choose the health facility comfortable for him to which he shall be promptly taken. He also asked the DSS to allow the defendant access to members of his family.
In the struggle for our members, there is victory.
The Academic Staff Union of Universities has suspended the 2-week warning strike. It began on October 13th, 2025. The strike, which is due to expire next Monday, is suspended following renewed commitment from the federal government and the National Assembly to address their demands. The ASUU president, Professor Chris Powuna, made the announcement at a news conference in Abuja, citing recent interventions and engagements with the Yale Ahmed-led committee and the Deputy Senate President as the reason for suspending the action before its date to expire. The lecturers, however, urged the government to take advantage of the 1-month window of this suspension to address their demands, which include the review of the federal government and ASUU agreements of 2009, payment of all outstanding salaries and earned allowances, payment of universities' revitalization fund, and others. The lecturers threatened to resume the industrial action without any notice if nothing is done within the month.
The ASUU team met on Thursday 16th and Saturday 18th of October 2025, respectively, with the Yaya Ahmed-led FGN team to consider government's response to the draft renegotiated 2009 FGN ASUU agreement. Another date was also fixed for the next round of deliberations by the two teams at the last meeting. We certainly have not achieved the twin objectives of concluding the renegotiation, which started way back in 2017, and fully addressing other lingering issues. However, we are definitely not where we were prior to and at the commencement of the strike. While noting that a lot more work is still required, NEC came to the conclusion that the objective of the warning strike had been partly achieved. Hence, it was decided that the ongoing strike be reviewed to allow for a conducive atmosphere for further engagement between the two parties. In summary, NEC meeting resolved that 1. The warning strike is hereby suspended with immediate effect from midnight, Wednesday, the 22nd of October, 2025. 2. Should government fail to resolve the issues within the 1-month window, ASUU reserves the right to resume the strike without further notice at all.
The governor of Kaduna State, Senator Obasani, has approved the implementation of a 70% salary increase, extension of retirement age to 65 years for academic staff, and 40 years of service for non-teaching staff in all state-owned tertiary institutions. The implementation, which takes effect from October 2025, is part of the governor's administration's commitment to improving workers and welfare and revitalizing the education sector, aligning with national standards. The approval followed a high-level meeting between the governor and leaders of the Joint Union of Tertiary Institutions. At a news conference addressed after the meeting, the chairman of the Joint Union of Tertiary Institutions, Chehu Suleiman, commended Governor Obasani for his commitment to workers' welfare and advancement in Kaduna State.
In demonstration of His Excellency's commitment to the welfare of academic and non-teaching staff, the Governor approved implementation of 75% of 2024 Confocus contendees, 70% of 2024 Confocus contendees salary scale effective from October 2025, and also approve 65 years retirement age or 40 years of service policy for non-teaching staff in the institution across the state. The Joint Union of Tertiary Institutions expresses its profound gratitude to His Excellency Senator Comrade Obasani for his listening leadership, transparency, and commitment to educational advancement in Kaduna State. We reaffirm our readiness to continue engaging constructively with the Kaduna State government to ensure the sustainable development of the education sector and the continued welfare of our members.
The Imo State government has taken its quest for digital and technological advancement further following the approval of University of Innovation, Science and Technology in Imo State, officially receiving the National Universities Commission Certificate of Recognition for the newly established university. The Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodimma, says the aim is to nurture young Nigerians with practical skills and global competitiveness, and also complement the state government's effort at the Skill Up Imo program.
The Imo State Governor Hope Uzodimma and his team arrived at the premises of the National Universities Commission, Abuja. They were received by officials of the commission led by the Executive Secretary, Professor Abdullahi Ribadu. The Imo State government team is here to receive the certificate of recognition of the newly established University of Innovation, Science and Technology. Just before the certificate presentation, the Executive Secretary of NUC commends the Imo State government for its commitment to education, adding that the new university reflects a forward-thinking vision and aligns on Nigeria's strategic need for innovation and digital growth.
This occasion is a testament to the state's commitment to education, as well as a reflection of our collective resolve to expand access to quality university education for all Nigerians. The National Universities Commission remains dedicated to ensuring that our higher education sector meets the highest standards of academic excellence, and the approval of this university shall be in line with our mandate to regulate and maintain quality assurance in the Nigerian university system.
For Governor Hope Uzodimma, the new university will focus on practical skills, research, and technology-driven education, preparing young people for the realities of a fast-changing global economy.
The University of Innovation, Science and Technology, in partnership with Imo Digital City, will have already a mentoring agreement with the University of Berkeley in California. The whole idea is to broaden a digital curriculum that will create startups, young entrepreneurs, who will not only go to school to be employed, but who will graduate, and as they graduate, they are coming out to also create jobs and become employers of labor. So it is also a business school. So I'm very grateful to the Executive Secretary and his team, and to NUC as a body for really granting this formal recognition.
Then the official presentation of the Certificate of Recognition. With this recognition, the University of Innovation, Science and Technology, Omuma, officially joins Nigeria's growing list of accredited tertiary institutions. It also brings the number of universities in Imo State to 8. Iyitokwekuteyi Channels Television News.
You're watching the news at 5. Coming up, according to the DMO's office, Nigeria's domestic borrowing hit 6.17 trillion naira in 6 months. That's in business news. Please stay with us. The Niger Delta Development Commission has inaugurated its new Delta State Office complex in Warri, a major project delivered by the current board of the intervention agency. At the event, the Delta State Governor, Sheriff Ovorevori, pledged stronger collaboration with the Commission to accelerate key infrastructure projects, including the Warri Escravos Road.
After 25 years of operating from rented facilities, NDDC staff in Delta State now have a permanent office, a modern 4-story office complex built to enhance efficiency, security and service delivery. The Commission's leadership expressed pride in delivering the project, which had been stalled for over 13 years.
We continue to work hard to ensure that we do not disappoint the people of the Niger Delta, because we have a duty to perform.
When we say we are moving from transaction to transformation, transactional, people who do 419, they rent offices. When they 419 you, the next time you come, they change address. So in order to show the world that moving from transaction to transformation is real, we needed to have our own offices, where you will not come tomorrow and they will tell you that NDDC is no more in that address.
Also speaking at the commissioning, the Minister of Regional Development, Abubakar Mamu, commended the NDDC for its renewed pace of project execution and urges staff to ensure proper maintenance of the new facility.
Staff of NDDC in Delta State to make sure that you own this property as your own, ensure that it is properly maintained, ensure that the amenities provided are not vandalized, so that it will not be a regret from a city as a tenant. As I commission these projects, in the name of God the Father, in the name of God the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Inaugurating the complex, Delta State Governor Sheriff Oboyewore hailed the NDDC board for completing the project and reaffirmed his administration's readiness to partner with the Commission on major infrastructure drives, especially the Warri-Escaros Road.
Delta State is not afraid to take on any project. We are ready, and I've spoken to the MD. By first week of next month, we'll invite the management of Chevron. We'll sit down to see how we'll go about that road.
The inauguration of the Delta State office marked another milestone in the NDDC's efforts to strengthen its presence, improve coordination, and boost development outcomes across the Niger Delta region.
Grief and devastation has enveloped ASUU community in Kacha local government area of Niger State as the death toll from Tuesday's petrol tanker explosion climbed to 42 people, with over 60 others battling severe burns. Residents still reeling from the disaster blamed the deplorable state of the Bida-Badegi-Agai road for the horrific incident. Many lament that their cries for rehabilitation had long gone unheard and pleaded with the federal and state government to act swiftly before more lives are lost to preventable road accidents. A report from the National Emergency Management Agency reveals that the tanker, heavily laden with petrol, lost control between 11 a.m. and 12 noon, overturned and exploded moments later. The inferno consumed everything in its path, claiming the lives of 9 men, 24 women, and 9 children, while leaving dozens more critically injured. Tragically, many of the victims were among those scooping fuel from the fallen tanker before it ignited into a fireball. Eyewitnesses described scenes of chaos as people fled in vain from the surging flames that engulfed the area. The injured were rushed to the ASUU Primary Health Care Center, Idris Private Hospital, and the Federal Medical Center FMC Bida, where emergency teams battled to save lives as the community mourns. Its people cling to one desperate plea, that this latest tragedy will finally awaken the authorities to fix the long-neglected road, now synonymous with sorrow. Welcome to Business News. The federal government of Nigeria borrowed a total of 6.17 trillion naira from the domestic debt market in the first half of 2025. That's according to the data from the Debt Management Office, DMO. The funds were raised primarily through the federal government bonds, FGN bonds, Nigerian Treasury bills, NTBS, and promissory notes, P-notes, key instruments in the nation's domestic debt portfolio. DMO figures show that 4.48 trillion naira sourced in the first quarter, while an additional 1.70 trillion naira was raised in the second quarter, representing a 2.26% increase over the previous period. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Senator Heineken Lokwobiri, has said Nigeria will demand a higher oil production quota at the next meeting of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, scheduled for November. Mr. Lokwobiri disclosed this on Tuesday in Abuja during an interview with the media team of the Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, where he reviewed Nigeria's upstream oil performance 4 years after the enactment of the Petroleum Industry Act and the establishment of the Commission. According to him, the upcoming OPEC meeting provides an opportunity for Nigeria to make a strong case for an upward review to at least 2 million barrels per day. Tesla Incorporated is recalling 12,963 vehicles in the U.S., specifically certain 2025 Model 3 and the 2026 Model Y models, after the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, flagged a defect in the battery pack contactor that could cause sudden loss of drive power. The automaker says it's offering a free fix and has reported no crashes, injuries, or fatalities linked to the issue. Gold prices continue their sharp slide today, extending losses from the previous session as easing tension between the United States and China prompted investors to cash in on recent gains. Spot gold fell 2.3% to over $4,000 per ounce after briefly touching over $4,000, while U.S. gold futures edged 1.6% higher to over $4,000 for 5.34. The drop follows Tuesday's dramatic 5% plunge, the metal's steepest single-day fall since 2020, after hitting a record high of $4,380 early in the week, driven by geopolitical jitters and expectations of U.S. monetary easing. Of Nigerian crypto investors as young high-risk speculators has changed. A new report, the State of Crypto Adoption in Nigeria 2025, reveals that Nigeria's crypto market is a colossal $57.11 billion retail powerhouse operating not on hype but on hard necessity. According to a report put together by Quidex, cryptocurrency exchange and digital asset infrastructure provider, this economic engine is fueled by grassroots adoption, with an astonishing 85% of retail investors earning below 250,000 naira, relying on digital assets as an essential hedge against inflation and for financial autonomy.
Starting out this report, we did not expect to see the numbers that we saw. We had a bit of idea of the transaction volume. Now, mind you, this transaction volume is just from retailers, from people who are doing an average of 15,000 to 25,000 naira per transaction, and not even the businesses, who are pushing like crazy amount of money, to maybe their suppliers abroad and all of that. So it's about 1 in 4 Nigerian adults, and what it means is it's the typical Uber driver, it's the person who owns a salon, there are people who are using it for pragmatic purposes. So they want to receive money, they want to send money, they don't want to have issues with chargebacks, and they just want to simplify their access and their interaction with the financial sector and make it as easy and as seamless as possible. And so you're seeing people building wealth. It's showing that out of the 26 million, about 17.7 million are actively building wealth by, investing long-term in crypto, in stable coins, with USDT coming up as the highest in transaction volume across Nigeria. And surprisingly, you're seeing people receiving more than they're even sending. So if the market is showing there's adoption, you really can't do much about it than to find ways to align with the people. And I think that is what is now happening, especially with this current news where, the CBN governor is saying, we now have people that we have told to specifically study stable coin adoption to understand the type of regulations that, we should bring into the market to ensure that we do not stifle innovation. So I would say that regulation is looking up as we speak.
That's it on the news at 5. Thank you for watching. I'm Olumide Macaulay.